Today's episode is all about journaling.
Mm. Is that
Mm.
your famous journal?
Well, so this is my old journal from last year, and this is my new journal.
Hmm.
They're exactly the same, except they're a little bit different. So I use burnt bullet journaling.
Can you say more about that? What is
Yeah,
bullet journaling?
bullet journal is the name is about this kind of style of doing bullets. But the main thing is that there's an index. Okay. That's the main thing. It's not a linear chronological journal. There's an index, and
Hmm.
each section has a little tab. I
Hmm.
made this one myself, which is a real big pain because every page has a number. So
Did you
page
number
numbers.
the pages
I did.
yourself?
I did.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like a 300-page journal.
Well done.
So,
And I'm sorry, but I need to know, did you first number all the pages or are you
yes.
do that as you, wow.
No, I first number all the pages and then I figure out how many pages I want per section. So
Hmm.
let's talk about the things I've learned. So, by the way, this is my second one like this. I've done smaller ones, but I just need a lot of space. So, this is a whole process, and I take maybe like a whole day to make
Hmm.
this journal, and I
Hmm.
listen to a good book on audio. So
Hmm.
first of all, I have to have a lot of things on the cover. Like these are
Hmm.
all the kind of like little sayings that are
Hmm.
motivating me right now. And so like future pain is avoidable is based on a yoga sutra. So it's really something I believe we are I am co-creating the universe to
Hmm.
think about like my responsibility. This one is funny. Future problems will be awesome. Like trying to trade up problems
Hmm.
versus solving the same old problems over and over, spread consciousness. So those are some of the little things. Let me tell you about my index on this one.
Yeah.
So is it reversed?
Morning. Morning, weekly, awakening, work, owners, general, evening, to do, body,
Measure
body,
measurements.
measure.
Measurements. Yeah. So my awakening is three parts. It's basically something I aspire, something that I need to do, and something I appreciate.
Mhm.
So for instance, on January 1st, I aspire to live for joy. I need to keep my immune system strong, and I appreciate my sauna. So that's an example. Makes
Mhm.
sense. And so
Yeah.
evening, I write a few notes about the day, and I used to do like a gratitude thing, but I found out that I wasn't actually documenting anything that was really happening in my life. I was just writing like a bunch of BS thankfulness. So now I actually write things that actually happened during the day,
Uh-huh.
um, which is more useful for me to look back and see how things are really going.
Mhm.
The other thing that I do is once a week, I have a weekly review. So I write about like, did get all of the things I want to do? Was I out of energy? Was I not getting sleep? Whatever it is, like the trend. And then my work journal is mostly, it's kind of like that, but just for like work. Am I working too much? Do I want to get more of this kind of work or less of that? Or
Mhm.
so it's very very structured. My owner's manual is a new section, which is whenever I figure out something about how to fix my body, or like if I was feeling down, or if I had excuse me, a sinus infection, like how did I fix it? It's my owner's manual. So it's like if I have a sinus infection, use my neti pot twice a day, something like that. And
Mhm.
then that way, if I forget, if I'm like, oh, I stubbed my toe, how did I fix that last time? I can go to my owner's manual and be like, is this what happens when you're 43, right, Daga? You know what I'm talking about, right? It's like you get so old, you're like, I solved this problem before. How did I do it? So my owner's manual is one of my most favorite section. So let me read you one.
Amazing.
If that
Yes,
stuff If that stomach is feeling too full for a few days, do a 24-hour fast. The system needs a break.
that sounds so true. And sometimes you
Yeah,
just need that reminder, right?
right, right. Yeah, this is a good one. If Bett has a hint of a feeling and she's avoiding it, she must take the time to feel it.
I love this one. How is it working? How do you
It,
apply that?
I look at it and make sure I'm taking some time. The other one that's really good is my awakening journal, which
Mhm,
is like for my spiritual development.
mhm,
So I write down like how's my meditation practice or um things that I'm feeling. Uh, yeah, it's just very interesting.
mhm,
Yeah. So oh yeah, I wrote down like what's the last 10 years of my life? What do I want it to be like? So that's a kind of place. And then I have a general notes where it's just like random, thoughts from a podcast or book notes or discussion. All
mhm.
right, Daga, that was me. How about you? Oh.
Excuse me. I was getting an incoming call.
Daga, you're so
So
important.
sorry.
You're just like this important person with all kinds of important things going
I
on.
know, I know. And I am so important, and still people don't know that we are just recording our very important podcast.
No, I mean, hello. You should have your assistant like hold your calls.
I know. Well, that's gonna be written down in my journal, my agenda. That's planned for next year.
Have an assistant.
Right. When I turn 43, this is the time, this is the moment to hire an assistant to pick up my calls. So yeah, journaling. I love journaling and I love writing things down and I love making lists. And I would like to make a one distinction
Mm,
between journaling and diary because I feel these two things sometimes, or maybe for me, sometimes they get blurry or confused. So sometimes when I speak with people about journaling, uh, we talk about what you do also, which is like quite a structured and a very clean way of making notes about different areas of your life, and then you can go back there, and then you can also take ideas from there, right? Learn, etc. And that's great, and that's one of the things that I also do. However, I don't have such a brilliant journal that I'm very jealous about. And I love to plan my days and I do like to go over my agenda and see what things have been accomplished, what I've accomplished, what couldn't be done, etc. And also, yeah, just draw conclusions from that.
mm,
Um, so journaling for me gives me clarity, it gives me ideas, it makes me like shift my direction, what I do I'm not enough of or too much of, etc. While keeping a diary or something that we could also relate a little bit to, like morning pages, in the words of Julia Cameron, the
mhm,
author of The Artist's Way. If for people who haven't heard of it, it's a brilliant book of also self-knowledge and self-development, The Artist's Way. So in the diary, for me, it's more a tool or a way to grow my self-awareness and self-knowledge and to ask me difficult questions, right? And to find tendencies and patterns in my behavior and in my thinking sometimes,
mm,
and just to gain clarity about who I am and what it is that I'm actually thinking and doing, and the attitudes that I have towards myself and towards the world that are helpful, or
mhm,
sometimes they are not helpful. No, so sometimes by doing this, I also feel like, oh, well, I'm not getting somewhere or I'm not accomplishing a certain goal. But let's look at how I think about myself and how I think about the situation and etc. And this type of journaling or keeping a diary, this is what I use it for. No, like this is what it helps, and it also helps me to process strong emotions when there are certain big events or sometimes even small events which stir up emotions in my life. putting it on paper helps me to find distance to it, and finding names for it. It also helps me to process it and to see what is important for me, what is not important, what am I neglecting maybe or avoiding in my life, where I could shed more light.
Hmm.
So yeah. And what is also very important for me is to have fun with journaling. So actually, the fact that you designed your own journal, I think it's amazing. And your little quotes and the colors that you use, and even the fact that you're numbering the pages yourself, I think it's brilliant. Because, yeah, beauty and fun to whatever we do, especially if it's supposed to just serve us, that's what makes it, what makes us engaged in the process, right? And not treat it as a chore, like another thing that I have to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that designing it is really important for me, part of my process. Whoa, sorry about that, everyone. Yeah, so I think it's really important part of my process is to think about what are the most important quotes at this time in my life so I can look at those. The one thing that's challenging about this size of a journal is not very portable,
Hmm.
right? Whereas, like, this is my husband's journal. Like,
Mhm.
it's much easier to carry this around. So, Daga, is it possible we could see your journal? Yeah, so designing my cover is very important, and it's interesting how the quotes change over time. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I have a lot of fun with that. I totally agree. Fun is important. So, can you show us your journal?
Okay, so my journals, the first thing is that I really like notebooks. So my journals are, I try to have them like really, also really nice. This is like a linen cover.
Fancy.
And this is another one. I just really love that color when I saw it.
Hmm.
This one had a magic moon on the cover, so I also liked it because it was different. This one was just like the colors were just speaking to me.
Beautiful.
Then I have something like this,
Hmm.
which was a present from a friend, and it was full of quotes of Franz Kafka inside, and even like some photos. So it was always, very surprising whenever I opened the page. And for example, there's this quote: I do not read advertisements. I would spend all of my time wanting things, as a quote from Franz Kafka.
That's awesome. It's a
Yeah,
Franz Kafka journal. Like, that's so fun.
right. And yeah, and sometimes, well, I very often I use a pencil because I like when it's the writing is very soft. But sometimes I also use like some sticky notes, yeah, or underline with colors. Um, um, Sometimes I write in different colors.
Okay,
So
this is
yeah,
fascinating. We need to talk about pens
yeah,
because I use the Pilot G27. Okay. And
okay.
if I lose this pen, I will have to go buy another one. I just bought refills. I found it has a refill. And I refuse to write with other pens. Like if I lose this pen and I have to write with another pen, I'm very sad. But you like pencils. We have
I
to
like
talk about
pencils,
this.
but I only like automatic pencils with like very fine, graphite. Or if I use pens, I like them to be colorful, and they have to be very fine as well, and
Yeah.
very soft. I don't like, to be like covered in the ink. And so, yeah,
Fascinating. So I have used very, very fine pens, and I find that it's too sharp on the paper, like it's cutting the paper. Maybe I
right.
write too hard.
So the pens I'm thinking about, they are not like typical pens. They are like soft. I don't know how to describe it. Probably there's a
Mm,
word in English that I don't know.
mm,
But they are more like marker type of pens, but with fine, yeah, I don't know.
fascinating.
But
Yeah. Maybe if
I,
you can find the brand, we'll put it in the show notes so people can sort of
okay.
go look at what it is. Yeah. I've tried all kinds of pens. I've tried fancy, expensive pens that are like metal, and I don't like them. I
Yeah.
like this pen, and I've been using this pen for years. And it's funny because my dad used to use the automatic pencil. He
Mm.
used to call them clickers, something like clickers. I don't know if that was a nickname or the actual brand, the clicker.
Mm.
What's the name of your pencil?
Oh, I don't know. It doesn't, I mean, the thing with the name full off, so I just use
Okay.
it.
This one, it's not a specific brand.
No.
Wow. Well, we have very, very different ways of journaling, but we're both using it for insight into ourselves. So that's
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yay. All right. Well, we would love to hear from other people on their journaling techniques. The bullet journal is very popular right now, but are there other techniques that are popular or that you've discovered or that you've invented yourself? And do you design your own journal? Or do you look for something that speaks to you right off the shelf? Or do you just use any old journal and then, is the portability the more important thing, I guess, the question.
Mm. And when do you journal and how often? Anything that you feel can be useful also for other people and maybe can inspire us.
Also, are there people who refuse to journal? Absolutely refuse and have good reasons and think that journaling is legitimately one of the worst possible things. I would love to hear that perspective. Because I do think there's
Yeah.
different personality types that some people like journaling and some people don't. And I would love to hear more. And also, maybe there's something other than journaling, like taking a voice recording or something
Mm.
that is like
Drawing.
equally drawing, or making a movie. I don't know. Someone's got something out there that's amazing. We want to hear. All right.
Yeah.
If you like this, like, subscribe, let us know other topics you would love us to cover. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, Daga.